Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're tracing the absolutely epic chronological history of human dispersal across the globe. We're going to look at the major migration waves, the environmental disasters that literally almost wiped us out, and those fascinating, sometimes intimate encounters our ancestors had along the way.
Let's dive right in with a slightly provocative question about your own DNA. Are you 100% Homo sapiens? Well, it sounds like a trick question, right? But the answer might completely change how you view our evolutionary journey. Because to uncover the truth hidden inside your genome, we really have to start at the very beginning.
Part 1. Origins within Africa.
So, to understand our genetic makeup today, we've got to travel deep within the African continent. We used to think of a single point of origin, like an X marks the spot situation, but the fossil record actually tells a much richer story. Our ancestors didn't just emerge overnight. Look at the timeline here. We have fossils from Jebel Irhoud in Morocco dating back 315,000 years, the Florisbad skull in South Africa from 259,000 years ago, and the Homo kibish remains in Ethiopia from 233,000 years ago. Basically, we evolved over hundreds of thousands of years across a vast, interconnected African landscape, right up until the timeline gets violently interrupted by a massive event around 74,000 years ago.
Now, what's really interesting here is seeing that from 315,000 to 195,000 years ago, our footprint was strictly within Africa. This totally sets the stage for everything that follows. Our ancestors were busy adapting to wildly different African paleo environments, developing complex tools, and slowly building the biological and behavioral foundation that we'd eventually need to, take on the rest of the planet.
Part 2. Early waves and bottlenecks. Now, our ancestors didn't just stay put forever. They definitely tested the boundaries of Africa. If you look at this push into the Levant, which is present-day Israel, around 194,000 years ago, we see evidence of this at Mizliya Cave. They were expanding into the Middle East probably during periods of really favorable climate. But actually, these early pioneers couldn't maintain a lasting foothold outside Africa. The expansion kind of faded out, possibly due to shifting climates, or maybe even competition with other hominins like Neanderthals.
So here's where environmental disasters play a massive role in our story. Around 74,000 years ago, the Toba supervolcano in Indonesia blew its top. And guys, it was the largest natural disaster in the last 2.5 million years. It injected massive amounts of sulfur dioxide straight into the stratosphere, triggering severe ozone depletion. We're talking lethal UV radiation in the tropics, combined with a harsh, global volcanic winter. Genetic evidence suggests that this eruption, along with the onset of intense glacial periods, nearly wiped us off the map. It shrank the entire global human population down to maybe just 1,000 to 10,000 individuals. Think about that for a second. The entire human race could have literally fit inside a modern high school gymnasium. No way around it, we were incredibly close to extinction.
Part 3. The Great Global Expansion.
But, spoiler alert, we survived. And after weathering those extreme climate shifts, a major wave of humans began the most successful migration in our history, roughly 70,000 years ago. This was the outward push that actually stuck. Homo sapiens moved out of East Africa, crossed the Arabian Peninsula, and just rapidly expanded across Asia and Europe. And amazingly, they even navigated open ocean waters to land in Australia by 65,000 years ago. That means tens of thousands of years before recorded history, our ancestors were already building watercraft and crossing the sea. It's just wild.
Part 4. Mixing with archaic cousins.
Now, as humans expanded out of Africa and into these brand new territories across Eurasia, they weren't exactly stepping into an empty world. They encountered other hominins who had left Africa hundreds of thousands of years earlier. And this is where we get the ultimate plot twist in our evolutionary story. For a long time, scientists thought we just outcompeted and completely replaced other hominins, like the Neanderthals and the Denisovans. But ancient DNA analysis has proven otherwise. We didn't just replace them, we interbred with them. And the evidence of these ancient encounters, it's written directly into the genetic code of billions of people living today.
As a result of these ancient, and let's face it, clearly very intimate encounters, almost everyone today whose ancestry lies outside of Africa carries around 1 to 2% Neanderthal DNA in their genomes. These pairings most likely started in the Middle East before modern humans split off into distinct European and Asian populations.
And honestly, it gets even more fascinating when we look further east. The Denisovans were another group of archaic humans, primarily located in Asia. Well, modern human populations expanding into Australasia interbred with them as well. Today, modern Melanesian and Australian Aboriginal populations carry up to 6% Denisovan DNA.
So the crucial point here is that this interbreeding wasn't just some random genetic accident. It actually gave certain human populations vital evolutionary survival tools. A perfect example. Most modern Tibetans inherited a specific Denisovan allele, basically a gene variant, that provides a biological adaptation for living at extreme, low-oxygen, high altitudes. Think about that. We literally absorbed the local evolutionary adaptations of our archaic cousins to survive in harsh, new environments. A real game changer.
Part 5. Peopling of the Americas.
Okay, let's fast forward a bit. By 20,000 years ago, the Neanderthals and Denisovans were gone. Homo sapiens was the only surviving Homo species left on Earth, and their eyes turned to the final untouched frontier, the Western Hemisphere. As you can see, humans finally crossed from Asia into North and South America, completely populating a brand new hemisphere in just a few thousand years, the grand finale of our global migration.
So, how did they pull it off? Well, researchers believe it was a three-step process. Step 1, the Beringia standstill model. Humans migrated onto a massive land bridge connecting Siberia and Alaska, where they were trapped by ice and completely genetically isolated for thousands of years. Step 2, around 16,000 years ago, as the ice finally began to shift, they rapidly spread south via the coastal route, moving along the Pacific coast in boats. And finally, Step 3, as glaciers melted even further, they expanded inland through an ice-free corridor, spreading out to form the incredibly diverse indigenous cultures of the Americas.
Part 6. The Assimilation Mall. To make sense of this absolutely epic 300,000-year journey, scientists debated for decades. The scientific community was fiercely split between two very rigid ideas. On one side, you had the multi-regional hypothesis, which argued that archaic humans, like Homo erectus, evolved into modern humans simultaneously all over the world. On the other side, you had the out-of-Africa theory, which argued we evolved strictly in Africa, left, and entirely replaced everyone else with zero interbreeding. But recent fossil and DNA breakthroughs, they've forced a compromise. Turns out, both theories were partially right and partially wrong.
Today, we have a brand new consensus, the assimilation model. Yes, we are overwhelmingly a product of an African origin. That is absolutely where our core anatomy and genetics formed. But we didn't just completely replace the archaic humans we met as we expanded. We assimilated them. We interbred with them, bringing their ancient genes right into our own lineage.
So instead of a simple family tree with straight, distinct branches, human evolution looks a lot more like a braided stream. Lineages branch out across continents, they evolve unique traits, and then they weave right back together over millennia through migration and interbreeding. We aren't just one pure line, we're a mosaic species.
Thanks for joining me for this explainer. We've journeyed from deep within Africa, survived supervolcanoes, crossed literal oceans, and merged with other human species to conquer the globe. Knowing you carry the ghosts of these archaic humans in your DNA, I hope this leaves you questioning, what fascinating hidden evolutionary traits are still waiting to be discovered inside your own genome? See you next time.